Welcome back to the Response Drivers Podcast, where we feature top marketing minds and dig into their inspiring stories. Learn how these leaders think and find big ideas to push your results and sales to the next level. Now, let's get started.
Hey, I'm Rick Rapé, host of the Response Drivers Podcast. Here we dive deep with marketing executives, experts, and innovators to uncover how they approach targeted marketing and use data-driven strategies to acquire and retain customers. We'll talk about what's working, what's changing, and how we can stay ahead in an evolving marketing landscape. This episode is brought to you by RPM Direct Marketing. RPM helps companies develop hard-hitting direct mail creative and utilize advanced testing and targeting methodologies so you can fully optimize your marketing performance to drive more sales and exceed growth expectations. With a proven track record, RPM delivers smarter, more profitable direct mail solutions so you can turn your direct mail programs into a predictable, efficient channel. Visit rpmdm.com to learn more. My guest or co-host today is Josh Gold. Josh is a 30-year veteran direct marketing expert and the vice president of client services here at RPM. Hey, Josh.
Hey, Rick. Thanks for having me today. Can't believe it's 30 years, but that's what it is.
You don't look that old. Don't worry, you don't look that old.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. So I just came across an interesting article, and it included some stats about how much time people are spending online on their online devices. And Rick, I wanted to get your take on this. So according to Statista, in the US, adults spend an average of 485 minutes. That's over 8 hours with digital media every single day. And they actually broke it down into more detail. So I'm going to read this. E-communication with friends and family is about 50% of online activities. Entertainment, like digital content, digital video, video, TV, 42% of online activities. And then, of course, social media, it's also significant. There's an average of 143 minutes per day spent in 2024 on social media. That's 67 minutes on TikTok, 55 minutes on YouTube, and 39 minutes on Facebook.
Wow, that's super interesting. So screen usage has remained at really high levels, but it's really interesting and helpful to be able to break it down like that, because it really tells you how people's time spent online is very fragmented, and sometimes they're doing work, sometimes they're doing entertainment, they're spending time in a bunch of different places. So I'm actually surprised that the amount of time spent on social media was not actually higher than that.
That's true. And digital marketing can be a really confusing topic. So here's another wild stat. The average person, get this, is exposed to between 4,000 and 10,000 ads per day. 4,000 to 10,000 ads per day. So this includes traditional media like TV, radio, billboards, outdoor billboards, and then of course the digital platforms like social media, search engine marketing, websites, email.
Yeah, well, that's not that surprising to me, because based on my own personal experience, I definitely feel like I'm constantly being bombarded with marketing. And I know if they counted all the spam emails I get every day, that number would have to be way higher.
Yeah, that's very, very true, I'm sure. So the rapid growth of digital platforms and digital advertising, it's causing some major challenges for digital marketers. Did you know, Rick, that almost 40% of consumers are actually unlikely to trust a brand that only engages with them digitally?
Oh, wow. Well, when you look at email, I feel like the problem is that there's no cost to send a message. So there's so many fraudulent messages out there, and there's so much clutter in the email ecosystem that most email systems have to have multiple filters to try and block out some of the unsolicited messages and all the unsolicited noise.
Yeah, and you have to be really, really careful about what you open and what you trust in email. Have you heard the term? It's called banner blindness. So it's kind of a great way to describe how good consumers have gotten at tuning out all those online ads. So
Wow.
let's talk a little bit about I know it's crazy. Let's talk about social media marketing.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so social media has some significant challenges as well. One of the major ones is that there's so many different platforms. You got
Mhm.
TikTok, you got X, you got Facebook, you got Snapchat, LinkedIn, Truth Social, and probably a bunch more that I can't even think of. So the audience on social media is very fragmented, and um, all of these social media platforms, well, most of them start out as entertainment and social connection for the consumer, but then they have to be monetized. So they turn into a big ad development and delivery platform that ends up being a lot less fun.
Yeah, so there's also a declining trust in a lot of the advertising on social media. There's so much fake content, fake news, deceitful influencers, kind of general deception. So I think lots of people are just tuning out a lot of the social media marketing.
Yeah, they're starting to have ad fatigue. And uh, the way that ads can be targeted online is causing people to have a lot of concerns about privacy and security. So people are starting to figure out that their attention is the product that's being sold online. And some of the
Mhm.
platforms now are losing their users as more and more people are just completely opting out.
Thanks, Rick. Now I'm depressed. So, hey, let's talk about the alternative.
Yeah, well, we live in the physical world, and we live there 24/7. So I think marketers who want to break through all the digital clutter into a more trusted space have to be looking at traditional media. In our practice, we're seeing that these issues with digital marketing, trust, and performance are driving many companies back towards direct mail.
Huh. Well, perfect, because good news. We're a direct mail agency.
Absolutely. Well, we've stayed focused on direct mail because we know it has some real advantages and it can be a powerful and productive sales channel for a lot of brands when they adopt the right approach. Initially, the rise of digital hurt direct mail, and but most serious growth companies quickly realized that they still needed traditional media to drive traffic and sales on all of their platforms, whether that would be online or offline.
Yeah, that's a great point. So let's go a bit deeper and let's dig into some of the reasons why we love direct mail and why we think it's such a powerful and productive tool.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'd like to break down the advantages into two big categories to start with. First, let's start thinking about the advantages from the consumer side, and then we can talk about some of the company benefits and advantages as well. So, from the consumer's perspective, what do you think they like about direct mail?
Well, direct mail is definitely more trusted now by many consumers. There's a lot less traditional mail arriving in people's mailboxes. So I think it just comes across as more valuable.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's seen as more legitimate and trustworthy because it's tangible and it's a lot more difficult to produce and send out than digital marketing. So it's just more difficult to fake or manipulate. So it has a much higher perceived value in the eyes of the consumer, and that's why companies that are using direct mail effectively are getting as much as a 9 times higher response rate as a result.
Yeah, and another point is that people interact with direct mail very, very differently. When your mail arrives, you kind of have to interact with it. We take it from our mailboxes, we bring it into our homes or bring it into our offices, and then we give it attention on a daily basis. We go through our all the incoming mail, and then we look for value kind of before we throw anything away.
Oh yeah, I remember a few years ago there was that neuroscience study uh, where they looked at brain waves and they found that when people were interacting with physical direct mail, they were lighting up a whole different area of their brain, and that was creating a much longer lasting impact. Another aspect of direct mail that I want to talk about is how flexible the formats can be and how much creativity can be used when we craft new packages.
Yeah, like the differences between a postcard, a self mailer, like a letter package, or even those big catalogs.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's so many different options. So in some cases we might select a postcard for like a simple quick offer, but we also can create a much more engaging letter package format with like multiple elements included in the envelope. So when we need to educate someone and build awareness about a more complicated product, we can do that. And with the longer form messaging, we can convey much more details and create interest. And then we can also use the one-to-one messaging of a letter so to touch on emotions and then also support that with rational justification. So we're able to move people all the way from interest all the way to taking action. And that's the very artistic part of direct mail that I absolutely love.
Okay, so let's shift now into more of the company benefits of direct mail. I think there's actually a lot of really, really important things to talk about from that advertiser's, the company's perspective.
Well, one clear benefit of direct mail is how well it can be targeted. And it has to be targeted because it's expensive. And part of the power of it is that we don't have to send it out to everybody. So, first of all, nearly everyone has a mailbox and can receive mail. So, we start with the potential to reach a much larger group of people than digital platforms. And then we can access and use an enormous amount of additional data about each person and their specific behaviors. And we can select and target from that data almost any conceivable target audience. We can target using demographics, geographic location. We can target audiences that look like your best customer. We can target using predictive models that rank order the target audience from the most likely to respond to the least likely to respond. We can segment the audience and craft different messages for different types of buyers. We can even trigger programs that fire off automatic mailings based on visits to a website or some other activity.
So it sounds like you're saying targeting is maybe one of the most important factors, maybe the most important factor in the success of a campaign. All right, I'll say it. Targeting is one of the most, if not the most important factors of success in a direct mail campaign. So
I would agree with you for sure.
Thank you.
It's a very critical area for the success of any program. So we obviously play a big role in doing that for our clients, and our experience and data partnerships are what allows us to really help clients crack the code in that particular area.
And another major benefit, we started to touch on this, but a huge benefit of direct mail is that it's testable. So it's a one-to-one medium. We can send out lots of test versions all at the same time for head-to-head testing. We can test all the key drivers. We can test offer, messaging, like I said, targeting, format, design. So you can learn what works, best and roll out with the best combination to drive the most success.
Absolutely. And that leads me to another benefit, which is very important. And that is that each piece of mail that we send out, we can track and measure so we can see the specific results. And that can be done by looking at 800 number calls, web traffic, mailed back responses, or we can also even match back to sales results and get to the results that way. So by doing that data capture and analysis on the back end, we can look at each group, each test version, and decide, did it work or did it not? And then produce a wealth of critical information and learning on how we want to move forward.
Yeah, that's also so important. Capturing the results and reporting on those test findings. And that's how mailers can start becoming data-driven and stop relying on guesswork, which can only lead to super sporadic results. So this is where we've seen the right process really create a competitive advantage.
Absolutely. And once you have that confidence in the results and you have that proven performance, then the most compelling advantage of direct mail is that you can scale it up and roll it out with the predictable ongoing performance. So it becomes a self-funding sales channel for growth and gives companies who know how to use it a competitive marketing advantage over their competition.
Sounds so easy, right?
Yeah.
Well,
it's not hard.
I guess
we just know how to do it. That's what makes us different.
That's the difference. So maybe that sums it up for today. This was fun, Rick. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to the next one, meaning I want you to invite me back and we'll do future episodes like this.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds great. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.
That's a wrap for this episode of Response Drivers. Thanks for tuning in. If you found today's insights valuable, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the show, We'd love it if you left a review. Got a question or a topic you'd like us to cover? Just drop us a message at responsedrivers@rpmdm.com. Until next time, keep driving response and making your marketing work smarter.